Okay, we're back again here at the Greatest Sports Channel, and what I'm doing next is I went through the NBA players, and I took the top 500 players, and I added together um, points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, and subtracted turnovers, and divided it by the minutes played, so I was able to come up with an absolute number of activity per minutes played. And I'll just jump right into it. Right now I'm printing out the whole list, but I've got the top 20 here, and I'll do that in this video. The best player of all time, and this is very similar to Babe Ruth, is Wilt Chamberlain. Um, I um, I wanted to include offense and defense. Unfortunately, back in prior to the 1970s, they didn't have steals, blocks, or turnovers. But even without adding that into Wilt Chamberlain's numbers, he was the greatest player of all time. He averaged 30.1 points a game, 22.9 rebounds a game, and 4.4 assists a game. Did play 45 minutes a game his entire career, and in some seasons never missed a minute, and possibly never fouled out in his entire career. But Wilt Chamberlain is the best player of all time. I have his absolute ranking of events, activity produced per minute of 1.253. Second best player of all time, which is surprising, Bob Pettit, played for the St. Louis Hawks, center in the Hall of Fame, 26 points, 16 boards, 3 assists. Third best player of all time, played for the Lakers, Elgin Baylor, averaged 27 points, 13 boards, and 4 assists. I have his absolute ranking at 1.13 um, events of activity per minute. So that was surprising. Elgin Baylor. Again, I don't have his defensive aspects, steals and blocks, but even without that, I still have him at the third best player of all time. Fourth best is Lou Alcindor. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, average for his career, 24.6, 11 boards, 3 assists, and also zero point 0.7 steals and 2 blocks. Now he had a very long career, and later on had lower stats in his seasons. Um, I'm going to also do a ranking of who had the best seasons, individual seasons, and we'll do that later in a later video. But I have Lou Alcindor as the fourth best player of all time, 1.101 as his absolute number of activity produced per minute. Fifth best is Michael Jordan, 30 points a game, which was really surprising to me. He's the first guard on the list. Um, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, zero point 0.8 blocks. Um, Early on in Jordan's career, he averaged 37, 35 points a game, very into the 30s. So I was really surprised that his points per game was that high. I have him as the fifth best. His absolute ranking was 1.097 events or um, productivity produced per minute. Surprising, sixth best player Shaquille O'Neal of all time, um, 23.7 points a game, 10.9 rebounds, 2.5 assists, did get 2.3 blocks a game. Now he only shot like 50% from the line, and I don't have that factored in to the calculation, and it may need to be, but at this time I don't have that. So Shaquille O'Neal was sixth best of all time. Seventh best, surprising, David Robinson, the Admiral, 21 points, 10 boards, 2 assists a game, 3 blocks a game. And his per minute production puts him at the seventh best player of all time. Eighth is very surprising. Nobody would ever guess this. Bob McAdoo is the eighth best player of all time. 22 points, 9 boards, 2 assists, and 1.3 blocks per game. So on a per minute basis, he produced 1.042 production per minute. Number 9 is Akeem Olajuwon, 21 points, 11 boards, 2 assists, had 1.7 steals and 3.1 blocks per game. Number 10 is Larry Bird, 24.3 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, 1.7 steals, and only zero point 0.8 blocks. He had an absolute number of 1.042, slightly below the prior two guys. Number 11, a guy that's in the Hall of Fame, people wouldn't know, Clyde Lovellette, 17 points, 9 rebounds, 1.6 assists. Absolute ranking was 1.037. Number 12, I have Lovellette ahead of LeBron James. LeBron plays a lot of minutes per game, so his production per minute is, for his career, he's averaged 27.5 points, 7.2 rebounds, 6.9 assists high, 1.7 steals, and zero point 0.8 blocks. But his absolute ranking is 1.033 production per minute. 13th is an ABA and NBA player. I have them all intermixed in here. Billy Cunningham, 6'7", 6'7", 20.8 points, 10 rebounds, which was surprising, 4 assists. He had a 1.026 absolute number. Karl Malone, number 13, 25 points, 10 boards, 3.6 assists a game. 15th, really surprising to me, Bob Lanier is the 15th best player of all time. 20 points, 10 rebounds, 3.1 assists, and had a low turnover ratio. I have it on this other sheet here. Bob Lanier's turnovers were only 1.2 per game. Larry Bird's, for example, were fairly high at 3 point. Let's see, Larry Bird was at 3.1. His were high. Also, LeBron's were high at 3.3. Oscar Robertson's the 16th best player of all time. Averaged a triple-double for one entire season, and in a future video I'll do single seasons, best single seasons of all time per minute. But Oscar Robertson, 25.7 points for his career, 7.5 rebounds, amazing for a guard. It's only the second guard on the list so far. 9.5 assists for his entire career. Jerry West is, let's see, 17, third guard on the list so far. 27 points, surprising 5.8 rebounds, 6.7 assists. Jerry West I have at 1.01 productivity per minute. Charles Barkley is 18, 22 points, 11 rebounds, 3.9 assists per game, and interesting, Barkley's shooting percentage from the floor was 54% from the floor, so I found that kind of interesting as a forward. Bill Walton didn't play a lot of minutes per game, but I have him as the 19th best player of all time. Only scored 13.3 points a game, 10 rebounds, 3.4 assists, 2.2 blocks a game. Only played 28 minutes a game, but I have him on a per minute basis as the 19th best player of all time, and had that one championship season with not a lot of great players on that team. Surprising, the 20th best player of all time, Boston Celtic Tommy Heinsohn, 18 points a game, 8.8 rebounds, which was surprising, 2 assists per game, only played 28 minutes a game, 29.4 minutes per game. I have him as the 20th best, Tommy Heinsohn. So that's the first video of Absolute NBA. and we'll pause here and then pick up with more players in the second video.